My heart throbbed loudly, pounding in the back of my ears, drowning out the sound of the crowd above and around me, the sounds of my coach and teammates. The powdery chalk danced on the air as I repositioned my grip. Tossing my head, the hair about my forehead dropped off to the side and as I licked my lips dry with the cool dome air. I cleared my throat, filled my body with one last deep, controlled breath, and lifted the tip of my pole toward the dome's ceiling. One long, drawn step backwards started my momentum, and bursting forth, I began my final attempt. Stride by stride, all I could hear around me was the pounding of my spikes as they hit the rubber runway. The cadence dropped faster, faster, as my heart pounded more loudly behind my ears, my breath caught in my throat, my eyes focused on the bar above me, coming closer and growing higher with each bounding stride. I lifted my hands, pole in them, and felt the dry, cracked tape scrape on my calloused palms. I gripped tightly and exploded off the runway. Leaving the ground, I sensed a sucking sensation pull my hips away from my pole instead of the usual ease and swing of the pendulum that my legs usually brought. I just wasn't moving. Not like usual, not like I was supposed to. My hands forced the pole in front of me, the bar's impending arrival far too soon. My feet out in front of me instead of high above and almost behind me, my mind raced. I tucked my feet inward towards my chest, both hands at my left hip. I was nowhere in the neutral position to be at that point that soon. I turned, flopped really, willing myself away from the pole to penetrate further into the mat, safely past and over the bar. The momentum was gone. The energy wasted. I was coming down quickly on top of the crossbar instead of soaring easily over it. As I kicked and twisted away from it, hoping somehow, some way, it would stay on the pegs, I landed oddly on my stomach, hearing the hollow flop of the fiberglass bar onto the mat behind me a split second later. The collective ooh of the crowd confirmed what I already knew. What I didn't know was if I could breathe. I wasn't injured physically, mentally, a whole other reality was coming to fruition. 3 attempts, miss, miss, miss. I slapped the mat, got on my hands and knees, and dragged myself away from the anonymity of being face down, not seeing my coach, not seeing my teammates, not seeing 3 years of work go down the drain. Sitting down, I unlaced my spikes and threw them in my bag. No one said a word to me. They knew. How do you react when people you compete with don't really mean good job? Or do they? Good job you know-hided so I can be an All-American this year. Good job you know-hided so I could win a national championship. That's what you hear them say if they say anything at all. That's what you hear them say, especially when they don't say anything at all, as you slide your poles in the team's bag. That's what I believed they were saying as I zipped up my warm-up, slung my bag over my shoulders, and walked across this track under the belly of the stadium seats above me. The pressure of coming in with the target on your head and the top 2 female collegiate pole vaulters in the nation is exhilarating and nauseating. The exhilaration of walking in with that team name on your jacket, carrying that tote of poles with the men who've won national championships, runners-up, and 26 All-Americans in the past 9 years. People knowing who you are just because of the coach walking in with you, and he hand-picked you as one of his first female vaulters. You've helped start that same dynasty for the females in this crazy event. I passed up offers from all over the nation to train with him, to go all over the nation with him. Thank God I did. He found me right away in the hallway under the grandstands. I threw my number in a nearby trash bin some emaciated 5K'er was puking in, and walked by Gene without saying a word. I couldn't look at him. I disappointed the man who'd become my second dad. I was afraid to look at him because I was afraid if I saw his face, saw his disappointment, I wouldn't be able to hold it together. The lump in my throat felt as big as a grapefruit until I finally got back to my hotel and sobbed in the shower until my head pounded. I sat down, literally sat down in the shower, crying for almost an hour. The lump in my throat was gone. It felt like everything was gone. He'd spent countless hours with me, working, training right beside me, trying to figure out the physics of a woman's body and the differences of that center of mass versus man's. Bringing in the physics and calculus professors and challenging them to calculate speed, positions, and poles to order, and writing books on the events that was so new for women in our nation. He didn't say much those next couple of days except, "We'll figure it out." We watched video of all 3 jumps that night in his hotel room trying to figure it out. I was quiet, watching the rest of my teammates compete those last couple days. The hollowness inside me permeated every thought, every conversation. The forced smiles and team pictures, the celebratory dinner out with our All-Americans. I was happy for them, truly. Every few hours I'd feel a hand tightly squeeze my shoulder and those words again. "We'll figure it out," whispered in my ear. I'd smile and look down, avoiding the inevitable point where I had to meet his eyes with mine. That lump would be back, and I'd take a deep breath and will myself to believe we would. He figured it out. Training for outdoor season started right away. After a week at home over spring break, I walked into the weight room to find him. Taped up at every squat rack station, on the ceiling above each bench station, and to the mirror in front of our core station was a photocopy. The numbers from the back of my jersey that I thought I'd thrown away. He knew. I knew. This was going to be a different season with a completely different outcome.